Hello and welcome on this beautiful spring day. So, thanks for being here. I appreciate your presence. Thanks for liking and subscribing. It lets me know who I'm connecting with, and I love that. Today, I want to talk a little bit about, well, something that I always talk about, right? So, my main mojo is really all about embodiment, but part of the embodiment process is really learning how to come within our own being and how to gather all of our scattered energies that are easily pulled out of us, our soul fragments, right? And pulling them into our being, learning how to live and acclimate from a much more grounded present place, choosing and acclimating to simplicity and subtlety, because that's actually where we can deepen at this point our spiritual acuity, let's say. And what I'm doing this year, it seems, as I've been guided thus far, is how can I support people to come inside more. And so I've been offering a variety of ways to do this. And the way that or a variety of focuses. And how I've been doing that thus far is through journeys where we create a container, where we journey together, we come in and we hold this container over a period of time. So we did 5 weeks. We did 3 weeks during the eclipse portal. I've mentioned this in the last couple of videos. And now we're going to be moving forward starting April 19th, next Saturday, in another container and another sacred journey that will support you in taking those moments to come within and deepen through different frequencies and different expressions of consciousness. So what do I mean by that? On April 19th, we're going to start a 7-day journey, and we're going to start working with the Essene communions. Now, some of you may have heard of the Essene communions. You may have heard of the Gospel of Peace. If not, I'm just going to give like a super brief snippet of the history and then how we're going to be working with these beautiful, what I'm calling them as prayers of life. And they're deep, and what I love about them is when we move with the communions in that deeper relationship over time, the wisdom and the deeper connection that we get is truly profound. So the Essenes, in short, were a Judaic sect back in I think it was like 100 BC through about the 1st century, 2nd century AD. And they had left the main temple in Jerusalem, and they were known as deeply ascetic and very purist in their beliefs and in their connection to God and to their religion. And they also really can be said to be a deeply Gnostic from our lens now, a Gnostic tradition or a Gnostic path of Judaism that also crossed over into Christianity. And when I say Gnostic, what I'm talking about is they lived from direct experience from their communions with the divine, with God, with the angelic realms. And this is what the gospel of peace, well, one of the areas that the gospel of peace, there are 4 books of the gospel of peace, and these books were held in the Vatican, and then the Vatican, and there was one other country that they were held in as well, and I can't remember exactly where that was, within deep archives. The books surfaced in, I think, like around the 30s, or at least that's when the translation was, and the Gospel of Peace books were said to have been written in like 3rd century AD. And what the Gospel of Peace gives us is more of a crossover from primarily Judaism into the teachings of Jesus. Now, I spent 3 years at the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center within a modern Essene community that was creating, a community and teachings for modern times based on the ancient Essene teachings. And that was under the tutelage of Dr. Gabriel Cousins, who is also a rabbi, amongst many other amazing things. He's an amazing being. And also he was a mystic. And he had been for 26 years as a disciple of Swami Muktananda, for those of you who might be connected with more of the Eastern traditions. So his experience, his direct experience, as well as his intellectual education, was vast and deep. So I was studying in the Essene priestess training program, and so I was there for 3 years. And primarily we went deep into the history of Judaism. Now, what led me to the Essenes was actually through a path of Essenes that had crossed from the Judaism into the Christianity traditions, following Jesus and Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary. And that's really what my first flavor was. And so the 3 years that I spent at the Tree of Life were a rich education in a history that I had no clue about. So it was fascinating. And learning about the Essenes from that perspective, the historical perspective. They were primarily located at the Dead Sea. So if you've heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls, then you probably know that the Essenes have been attributed, to the best of our knowledge, as authors to the Dead Sea Scrolls. They were also known as the Therapeutae, or Therapeutai, on the shores of Egypt. So they went from the Middle East to Africa, where Egypt is, and many places in between. But they were very private. They were very ascetic. They carried and held true to again, to the very pure threads of the religion that they came from, but also the purity of what they received through their devotional relationship with the divine, with God, as well as with Mother Earth and the planets. So if you've followed any of my work, then you know that I'm always encompassing the elemental archetypes of life, right, and of our planet, and that I'm always also working with other planets and stars. So I don't go into deep details about all of that, but my life and my path has been deeply informed by the components and characteristics that began with the Essenes, and then I kind of moved away from that, and yet I circled back around through other teachings and other teachers. So it definitely is a deeper thread of the feminine path that I walk and that I teach from. And part of that feminine essence is going within, self-sourcing, deeper communions and deeper knowing thyself from the embodied perspective, coming back to our soul presence, which is of the feminine. You know, our soul is embodied and held in this earthly plane in many ways and is that feminine essence, whereas spirit, if we're looking at masculine, feminine, tends to be more of that masculine, the heavenly presence and energetics. So while we dance between both of them, we're rooted, and part of what the Essene communions assist us in is coming more deeply into these relationships with the angels, right? The angels of life. And so this is how the Essenes work with the elements. They refer to the elements as the angels of air, the angels of water, the angel of earth, the angel of fire, right? Or the sun. They were deeply rooted in the healing of nature and the devotion to Mother Earth and her angels, and the recognition that those angels are outside of us and within us. So those of you who did the elemental alchemical journey, we worked a lot with that. This is similar and yet different, and it takes a different slant in some ways, and it offers up these amazing prayers and contemplations for deepening our experience and our relationship both within and without when it comes to these angelic forces of life. Now, those are the morning communions. The evening communions bring us into spirit, bring us into the heavenly communions with the powers of the divine. So when I say the powers of the divine, I'm talking about states of being or attributes which are of divine frequency that come within the masculine polarity, as well as communing with the celestial planets. So it's very rich. It's expansive and deepening. So the morning communions are with the earthly mother and her angels. The evening communions are with the Heavenly Father and the celestial angels. And then we get to work with that alchemy of the masculine and feminine polarity within our own divine vessel and vehicle. Now, these teachings, as per the Gospel of Peace, were teachings that are noted to be from Jesus. Now, any of our texts and Gospels, right? They're still up for debate in some circles, and that's where we get to discern by what is our deeper connection tell us. So within the Gospel of Peace books, the teachings go very deep, and a lot of them will carry throughout them many of Jesus's teachings. So who were the scribes that wrote them? So the Essenes are said to be primarily scribes. And that was, we could say part of their purpose, their mission, their vocation was to record all of these sacred texts and all of these sacred downloads, we would say now, and these direct experience and embodied wisdom. And it is said that Jesus and Mother Mary and even Mary Magdalene hailed from an Essene or the Essene communities. So Jesus' teachings are very connected to what we find in the Essene Gospels. And the Gospels are indeed of Jesus teaching the sons of man who are suffering and who are finding illness in their body and in their mind and in their spirit. And the overarching element is of love. That love with a capital L is the ultimate power. And love is life, and life is love. And all of the communions that we work with are life-giving forces. As Gabriel used to talk about, is in our world today, there is the consciousness of life and there is the consciousness of death. The consciousness of death is anything that keeps us mired, enslaved, scattered and disoriented, and forgetful of the divine that we are, that we access from within. The consciousness of life is that enlivens us, brings us freedom, vitality, love, unity, and that allows us to expand into the remembrance of who we are. I love all of that, right? Because I think that if we look around, we can see that very clearly, and we also need to look within. And this is part of what the communions help us to do. Because even though we as humans, I think everybody desires what we believe is that which is in the higher good. How we go about it can either come from that consciousness of death or the consciousness of life. So on Saturday, we're going to begin, and this is the day before Easter. So we always start the Essene traditions from the same as Judaism, begins their week with Saturday. That's Sabbath, right? That is the day of rest. That is the day where we let go of the worldly world, and we pull our energy back in to remember our connection to the divine. So we start on Saturday and we go through the following Friday. And what you will get are an introduction video, and then you will get 2 videos for every day with the Essene prayer and communion, and then some light language and gentle deepening guidance and silence to bring us into deeper levels of our own communion, our own truth, our own remembrance. These are not going to be super long videos. I don't know how long they're going to be yet because I won't know till I actually start doing those. But I would say no more than 20 minutes to a half hour. And it allows you to drop in and bookend your day, to begin your day and to end your day with these angelic forces of the divine. I love these so much. Probably in the intro video, I'll talk a little bit more about my personal experiences when I was doing these really, I would say religiously, right? It was a part of during the time I was at the Tree of Life, it was a part of my daily practice. And every week, right, every time I wound back around through these different expressions would take me into really beautiful and profound and new spaces of connection and revelations. So I'm going to invite you, if you're watching this, please join us, right? Please join us in this journey. Even though we will not be doing this one live together, we may have one, I don't know, maybe at the end to see how your experience was. Come together as a group. That might be kind of cool. I just thought about that. Did I think about it or was I told that? So please look in the link below, and I'm going to put, right, the title of this, and you can register at the link, which is going to be a blog page on my website. Payment links are there. You can just do it directly. I will get it. You can please put your email address to confirm it in your PayPal note, all right? So that I know that this is the email that it's going to go to, that your links are going to go to. And if you'd like to take the time, go to my contact page and just confirm all of that with me, and that's your email, so I don't miss you, right? If you're already on my list, then you're already on there, and I know who you are. But if you're new, we'd love to have you. I would love to share this with you and offer you this experience to go a little bit deeper, especially at these crazy times, right? And to really learn and get acclimated to anchoring in your own sovereignty. All right, so with that, I am going to say goodbye and have a beauty. Much love.